All right, so I'm so happy today. I have Sheri, who is a very active member of our community, who has been nice enough to take her time and be with us and talk to us about her experience, her first slow flip, and then I'm sure we'll have a lot of questions for her. Ashuri, I was checking your profile and I saw that you joined on January 26, 2023.
Yeah.
So almost 2 years now. So that's incredible. So I'm so happy you're here, and I know you're having some technical issues on the
You know,
presentation side, so
just a
don't
good
worry
day.
about it. We'll just you can just basically recite how you started. I actually had some questions. I don't have them
Okay.
prepared. Then what we'll just do is what I remember, I'll just go through them. So are you okay with that? Are you okay with that if I just ask you those questions and we'll go through
Yeah.
that way?
Yeah.
So Shiri, you joined in January 26, 2023. So just tell us your background. Do you have any past experience in real estate before you joined Freedom Accelerator program?
Yeah. So I am currently a licensed agent out here in Oregon. It's where I live. And so I've been licensed, I think, in 5 years now. And for whatever reason, I just decided that the traditional way of being an agent is something that I didn't really like. Um, and I was, I'm like, well, I'm buying and selling for clients, but not for me. And most of my clients actually weren't even like investors. They were just, buying selling their primary home or whatever. Um, so January of 2023 was kind of my decision of, okay, I'm gonna um, go on. I work for EXP, and so they have a referral division. So anyway, made it easy for people who are transitioning out of real estate or newbies and still had their W-2, whatever. So they had it was timely and, low cost. So I'm like, okay, that looks like a perfect fit. And so now I'm a referring agent. Um, and so then I just started uh, researching. I want to do something with real estate, but but what? And so that's when I started learning about more about investing in all. Oh my gosh, I learned about burrs and fix and flips and buy and holds and I even took a week course with a women's only um, real estate investing class, if you will. And that's where I learned a lot of these options and creative financing. And then I stumbled across, like most of us, Scott's program um, yeah, on, I think, is Facebook. Google, Facebook. Everybody knows what we're thinking and saying, right? So they know how to target ads. Pretty brilliant. Um, so that's what I did. I uh, watched his course. I think it was a 3-day one at the time, and I was like, wow, this really makes sense. I gotta figure this out. And so yeah, so that I joined, and I have to say I looked at a bunch of other shiny objects and joined them as well, and but this one stuck the most. And so yeah, it was just a whirlwind of information that I was like, wow, I had no idea. I had family members, my parents for their second career were real estate agents. They bought and, had rentals, and my sister and her husband, it was like, hello, how come you guys didn't talk to us, family members about real estate investing? Yeah. So,
Hmm.
um, so here I am, almost 2 years later, which is pretty cool. I didn't have my first slow flip till August of that year,
Okay.
2023.
All right. So let's talk about that. So when you joined, because even though you've done a couple of things in on the investment side, um, obviously slow flips is very different. So tell us about your challenges that you had before you could buy your first slow flip.
I feel like, and my computer's up and running, so you'll need to let me in. I felt my most challenge was probably money, funding. And like Scott says, yeah, it's really the key to this whole program is, you got to have money to buy things. And so several months went by, like I said, until August when BHG, that's one of those like business but personal loans. So yeah, so I'm like, okay, I'm working on lenders like we all are trying to do. And then my husband, who has a side hustle for many years, he's the one that had, more of the business clout line. So he was able to get a loan from his business, and then he lent my business the money. So it was enough for some operating costs and two slow flips. So once that was secured, then I was on my way. I had bought probably three from August to the end of the year. And in the meantime, I bought two with those funds, and then I did get a lender on the other one. And so that was, my first challenge. The other challenge was I felt like I was just doing this alone, even though we have our community. But, when I look at a lot of people who have been in this group who are seasoned investors for other burrs and fix and flips and rentals and whatnot, so I really felt like the green. I was really, really green. But I have to say the community is the one that just really helped me grow. And, yeah, had lots of support. My first one was nerve-wracking, like a lot of people are saying, when I read, I'm like, we all kind of chuckle after we've done our first one or two or three or whatever, and we're like, yeah, that's how it is. You're gonna be nervous.
Yeah.
You're gonna feel like you don't know what you're doing. Just read from my own
Okay, yeah, that's fine. That's okay. Don't worry about it. Yeah, so yeah,
systems.
just tell us about your first slow flip, Sheri.
Okay.
Like just the numbers.
Sure. So the first one that we have here on the slide is a picture of the home. It's in Decatur, Illinois. It's a 3-bedroom, 1 bath, 950 square feet, built in 1950. And in my opinion, it looked like a shack. And I found it because my agent calls me up and says, my buyer was supposed to sign papers, like 2 days or I don't know, it was something really quick. And now I'm in a bind. And, I know you're looking for your first one. This one's pretty solid, and she knows our whole method. She's an agent for, I think, several of us in the area. And I'm like, okay, let me take a look at it. I mean, let me just tell you, my first slow flip is what you shouldn't be doing. So according to what Amir's been teaching. So there wasn't a whole lot of due diligence. She was my boots on the ground. So she showed me pictures. I relied on pictures that were already there. And I just said, and she said, well, my buyer was going to buy it for 18,000. And I'm like, okay, that's pretty darn good for a 3-bedroom. So I said, okay, let's go for it. And I was just like, eh. And of course, asking everybody at school, is this normal? What do I do next? Where's the paperwork? All these things for filling. My agent was super great, just getting me the purchase. Of course, I'm familiar being an agent. I'm familiar with those purchase agreements. It's the flip side when we're filling it. That was a little bit different. So I accepted, the offer was accepted. I got the 18,000. They gave me, a few days or whatever to do some of my due diligence, and I don't know. So we closed. And then I went on to the filling. So I don't know if you want to. So I didn't have any underwriting.
Yeah, so let's just talk about that because that's how we all are going to learn. So what did you do? The first couple of, this was online. This was via the MLS. Is that correct?
Yeah, it was on the MLS.
Oh,
I don't know if it was another slow flipper buying it or just a buyer or another investor who was buying it. They backed out for whatever reason, didn't come through with funding. My agent,
and where was this?
Decatur,
Wh-
Illinois.
Decatur, Illinois. All right. So it was listed at 18?
No, it was listed at 24.
Oh, wow. So that's pretty good. So you
Yeah.
negotiated down to 18?
Well, actually, the buyer, I didn't have to do anything. That's the thing. This, I have to say the first flip was probably the easiest in terms of negotiating because it was already a done deal. So basically, it was taking one purchase agreement and just putting my name in it,
Oh,
or my
okay.
company's name in it, is
Got it.
basically what my agent did.
Oh,
Um,
okay. Good, good, good. So all
yeah.
right. Then yeah, just tell us about the walkthrough part. Did you do any of it or did you not do it or
Um, Yeah, like I said, my agent is the pretty much, I didn't know any boots on the ground there. I
hmm
only just connected with the agent, probably a few months earlier. I was relying on a few investors, slow flippers that were already in the city or in the town investing, relying on them, of what they knew. And they didn't know as, a whole lot like they do now, of course, like we do now. So it was just kind of more or less blindly going. And I'm looking in, I do a walkthrough with my agent, and she's on, video call. And there's this big hole in the wall in the bedroom. There's missing appliances. There's missing kitchen cabinets. There's some kitchen cabinets. There's I wish I could, share my screen. You'd see the pictures. Um, it needed flooring. I was just like, oh gosh, okay. But Scott said this is what we do. So I'm like, okay, here we go. Here's the roller coaster ride.
okay.
Um,
So did you self-fund it?
yeah, I'll consider it self-funding, but it was from the funds that my husband's business lent my business.
Okay. Okay,
So
got
there's
it.
still an interest rate. So I will say it is a primary, I am paying interest. So,
Got it. Got it. Okay.
but it's a combined amount.
Okay. Now let's move on to the next step. So now you closed, you know, in your opinion, well, the worst part is done. Or do you think the worst part comes in now because now you got to fill it? So,
Right.
who did you approach? How long did it take? So before you actually filled it, just tell us that process.
Okay. So we closed like August 23rd. I took possession. And immediately I got on, and we all knew Joey was the filling guy. And so he had a team, and whatever he did back then, broadcasted it out to his team. And I think within a few weeks, I believe it was Joshua Heckle, Josh
hmm
Heckle, yeah. He found this single dad of two teenagers and a toddler, and he was super excited. Just moved into Decatur, super excited to be there, and Joshua made it really easy to, I'm like, I don't know what I'm looking at in forms, I'm just
hmm
learning about these purchase agreements. And, we have evolved with our purchase agreements since then. And, um, you know, sometimes I feel like, boy, I hope I don't have to evict because I don't know if this is going to fly, this purchase agreement. Um,
So yeah, tell us what do you got? How much got? What were you advertising for? And because that's another thing that Scott was mentioning in the last meeting, I believe, about the numbers, right?
yeah, yeah,
Because our fillers are in the market and they're filling dozens of properties and they know the areas that they're filling in, they can actually give you an estimate on what it should be, what should be the down payment, what should be the monthly. So in
right.
your case, how did you approach that part?
Yeah. So my perspective so flips and ended up being just right as what we're getting is, they said, okay, suggested was, I think it was 800, maybe it was 775, is what I'm assuming was advertising. And So we ended up with 2,000 down, seven, maybe it was 800 a month. And so we ended up with final number 772 a month, and that included taxes. It didn't include insurance at the time. So P&I was actually like 680, and let's see if I have that down. Yeah, and so yeah, Josh filled it within 3 weeks. It was 2,000 down, 680 P&I plus insur or taxes. And it came out to, I don't have those numbers because I'm going to tell you that, we try to tell our tenant buyers you're responsible for the insurance. And,
Hmm.
again, that has evolved where now I pay for all the insurance and I roll it into their payments. So that's what I did with this a few months later. I did that with this tenant buyer. I said, have you gotten any insurance? He said, no, it's really difficult. It's really expensive. I said, I know. I said, what do you think about this? We, I can get it cheaper and I'm just gonna, I'll just put the cost onto you. So it ended up being 772 a month, PITI, and I just amended the contract. So I just sent him an addendum and saying that this is, he's now paying for insurance through me, basically. And so and the purchase price was 59,000.
Okay. Okay. That's very good what you did with the insurance. But so how many months before you actually ended up doing that? Was it after a year, after a couple of months, or?
No, it's just a couple of months, and I already had my own insurance, at the
Mm.
I don't know, 20,000 mark probably. Just your regular, um, it wasn't uh, involving the purchase price, which we do now. When
Oh,
I'm doing the insurance, it's covering their purchase price.
right, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so original tenant still there?
Oh yeah. Yeah. He's my very best. I mean, I have, because I'm an agent, it was hard to me to take my agent hat off and put the investor, we have to be a little harder, I guess, as an investor. Well, I'm not. I have too much of a rapport with my tenant buyers.
Okay.
I mean, I had a phone call from one of his kids by accident. We're carrying on a conversation with this little 5-year-old. That's, I
Well,
guess he's on, I guess I have my number is on his redial.
so the one thing that you mentioned, and my case is the same. My first slow flip so far is probably the best, number wise, property wise, tenant wise. And I think some of us just get maybe a little lucky
Yeah,
because the worst thing that, like Scott says, the worst thing that can happen is, your first one ends up being a mess.
right.
You have eviction after eviction, or something breaks.
Yeah.
So it's good if you can be a little more patient. And I tried to be a little patient. I didn't really jump very, very quickly, but I really did struggle to find the best deal before I made the decision to move on. All right. So
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah, go
this
ahead.
definitely landed in my lap. And I mean it, and I think at some point, 8 months into being a member, and I've got nothing to show for, and then boom, all of a sudden, and Scott's like, that's exactly what happens. It just booms, it happens, and you just go with it, and get that first one under your belt, get that, nervous part of you out, and go from there. I mean, to me, every purchase is nerve wracking. This one was just absolutely, I think, perfect because I have a terrific tenant buyer who actually bought another one from me, and he's renting that out.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
So where are you now currently? How many slow flips do you have?
I have six. I have six stores. I dubbed myself as the slow flipper, because I am I try to be very methodic and probably take too long to decide, and then it's gone. Of course, some other slow flipper bought it out from under me. But it's not without, I had Joey outbidded me on one or two in the early phase stages, and so it was kind of friendly competition there. Yeah.
Okay. So before we talk about what you're doing now, I want you to again go back to your first slow flip. Now you got it filled. Just remember the experiences and challenges that you have during that period of time, which means you just had bought your first slow flip and you're trying to manage it. So anything, because many of our audience right now are either buying their first, second, third slow flips, and so I
Mhm.
think that would be very helpful for them. So any experience, anything that you were facing during that period of time, and now looking back, what do you think of those experiences?
Well, definitely, I relied on others in school. They were already investing, in that town or anywhere, and so they, gave me the recommended numbers to shoot for. That was very helpful. Just having those regular meetings were helpful, and asking tons and tons of questions, which, as you all know, people are very quick to answer. I'm happy with the numbers here. I don't, the market, the rent was 772. I look at my payment as 330. My taxes are 57 a month. Insurance is about 38 a month. So I'm cash flowing on this one over $300. So, for me, I think that is a pretty good um, start. I've got another one that I'm actually doing more. I'm probably doubling on that. Um, but that's my worst tenant buyer.
Okay.
But
Hmm.
so my experience, we know use the slow flips. I might only have six, but I've been in a position now where I'm helping others and answering their questions. And it doesn't matter, we're all on our own path. It doesn't matter if you're trying to get, 50 in 1 year or your first 10 in 1 year. It's whatever your goals are, whatever you can attain. And, and I'm working on filling other properties. I'm working on assigning, which I've done also, assigned wholesaled a few to us in the group. And just kind of gaining my own cash flow so that I can either try to self-fund while I'm still um, actively looking for private money lenders.
Okay.
So yeah, I
Sorry,
think,
just wanted to add, so we have about 10 more minutes. So
okay,
if you have any questions, please raise your hand in Zoom so I can see it. I see one question. So we'll go and answer those questions. So Sheri, uh, thank you. That was a very, very good background on this. Can you tell us now what your goals are? So can you share with us, if you don't mind, what your
yeah,
goals
sure.
are for this
Um,
year and for the next
yeah.
couple of years?
So for 2025, I want to get 10 more under my belt. I'm very conservative with goals. Um, Honestly, I'm not a very goal-driven person, for whatever reason. I'm just not. I have them, and then I'm off like squirrel. Um, I do want to do more wholesaling, um, and I'll continue filling for others. I'm working on as being part of that team. But yeah, I'm shooting for 10 more, and I think my goal is probably 20 or 30. We'll see. A lot of people say, yeah, I'm going to do 20, 30, and then they're off doing, forget this. I like it. I'm doing a lot more. So, our goals always shift, right? Year after year, even every 6 months, they might shift. So, that's what I'm shooting for.
Okay.
I'm at the top of coming into a few years into retirement. So to me, obviously I went into this as my back story of this is my 401k, being self-employed and not being a corporate working person ever. I don't have a 401, I don't have that kind of thing. So that's when I came across Slow Flips. That's where I said that makes sense that, that'll be my retirement in the next, hopefully 5 to 6 years or so.
Okay, great. All right. So we have a few questions, so we can go ahead and start with Ron. Ron, go ahead and unmute yourself, please.
Thank
Hey,
you,
Ron.
Amir. Hi, Sheri. I really enjoyed what you were sharing. You are in Oregon. I'm on the same coast, but a bit further south in California.
Okay.
Your property's in Illinois. And simple question: you signed the paperwork with the realtor. As you said, you were familiar with the MLS paperwork, and then you had to be given guidance on how to use the simple agreement for for purchase
Yes, it
and
was
so
very
on.
simple.
Yeah, just a commitment to purchase the property, and then the second step going to before we get to the second step is putting it out there on the market. And who did you use, or what assistance did you get in terms of local, like who put the lockbox on? How did that get arranged?
Yeah, so my agent, because it was already in transaction with the former buyer who backed out, all of that was already in place. So it was another agent's listing, so they had the lockbox. It was my agent that, showed me the house. And yeah, so that was real simple. That was it.
So the lockbox was the one that the agent was using while she had it listed, and she like donated it to you.
Yeah, she just kept it on there. Yeah.
Okay.
And
And
she's
then
like,
she
let me know
recovered.
when you feel it.
Then she did she recover it when you got your tenant in there? She handed
Absolutely.
over the keys and took back the lockbox.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's perfect.
Yeah.
It sounds too simple, right?
It is. And it
And
doesn't always
and
happen that way.
right. And I'm trying to find the funding for my first slow flip. And I do have a quick flip, as I call it, a wholesale in the
Okay,
works.
good.
It's in escrow at the moment. So
Great.
so that was basically you've never seen the property, never
Never
physically
saw the
been there.
property. Just saw it on pictures and a video call.
Yeah.
And or she'll send me the video because we couldn't connect for whatever reason. Yeah, and I was like, I'm sure it wasn't that long ago, but my memory. Um, I'm pretty sure I asked somebody else, Joey or Scott, and said, "Okay, this is my first one. What do you think?" And of course they'd say, "Go for it," and I've shown them some pretty really bad ones. And he goes, "Yeah, go for it." I'm like, "Yeah, you would go for it, but what about me? Should I go for it?" So, yeah, I
Okay.
had
Right.
my doubts for sure.
Right. Now the filler you mentioned, you had somebody who was your filler.
Yes.
What um what was their role in terms of helping to find? I mean, did they have somebody lined up for you? They showed it how many times or anything like that?
I have no clue. And most of the people who use our filler teams even today have no clue how they found their buyers. All they know is, "Hey, I found a buyer. I need your company information." And, and
Okay, so
that's
they
about it.
did the paperwork for you.
Yes, they had the paperwork.
They gave the agreement for deed and just put your information on there, sent it over to you for signing.
Yep.
By what method?
DocuSign.
DocuSign. Okay,
Hmm.
cool.
This was not notarized. So back in the day, only 2 years ago,
Uh-huh.
we didn't notarize. We do notarize now. That's why
Yeah.
I'm saying I hope I don't have to take these tenant buyers to court because I don't know how it'll fly if it's not notarized. But we can fix all that. Um, so yeah, that was a simple thing. I did because I was an agent. I sent all these disclosures. Your radon, your lead-based paint, your residential property disclosure.
Mm.
Even though I didn't receive one, I got one. I gave my tenant buyers one. At least those three forms I knew you needed to legally pass on because even for sell by owners I believe legally have to present the lead-based paint, the radon, and the property disclosures. So I treat it as that.
And so we just have 4 minutes left, and we've got a couple of more questions.
Yeah.
So let's try to see as many as we can get. I can't see who's next. Bob, can you please mute yourself? Go ahead. Short questions if you can, please.
Yes. Thank you, Sheri, for sharing. When it was time to fill, did you just post it to the group, or did you figure out who the fillers were and send it to them personally?
So back then, it sounds like a long time ago, Joey was the one that was always saying, hey, we'll fill it for you. We'll get it filled for you. So he had a team that nobody knows, these mysterious, brilliant fillers that we have. And he blasted it out. I don't even think we had on school what we do have now, these different tabs, that you can post things. Hey, I'm selling this, or I'm posting this, or I need this filled, or anything like that. I'm pretty sure I probably said, contacted Joey and say, I need this filled. And he's like, we're on it. And they're on it. They are on it for sure.
Well,
Do not hesitate to lean on the filling team. Joey no longer does it. He's kind of passed the baton over. But there's several of us who are either together as one unit, or we're kind of doing it on our own. Of course, I'm always a maverick. I do things on my own, but I want to be part of the team. So now I'm trying to be part of that team. Yeah, that's what you do.
Okay.
But yes, for sure, blast it now. For sure, blast it and say, okay, who's the fillers? We got a lot of worksheets now that show who the fillers are.
Right. Okay, Michael, go ahead, unmute yourself, please.
Hi, yeah, my quick questions are, one, what city was it in? And number two, with regards to your first property, how is it performing? Are the people performing any evictions for such a low cost property?
So the town is Decatur, Illinois. That's where most of my SlowFlips are. I'm now branching into Ohio. I have a property in Ohio, Toledo. So my numbers, it's performing. He's never been late. He's always been early. And this is performing fantastic. The net income, I hope I plugged in the numbers right on your numbers, Amir, but it looks ridiculous that the ROI is 86.6%.
Yep. It will look ridiculous if you buy at 18,000 and you rent it at 750. I mean, it's
math right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Any nightmare stories real quick?
Any what?
Nightmare stories.
Yes, there's tons of nightmare stories. It's not on this first SlowFlip, which is what our topic is.
Yeah.
I think my third house, which I get the most from, is my more or less nightmare, and I'm just too nice. It's a family, and they're always late, and it's like if something could happen, it happens to this family, and whether it's true or not, I have to take it with face value. But okay, most recent, real quick. One of mine that just filled, it was vacant for 4 months, and it was in Decatur, and I have no idea because that house looks so much better than this first house. So it's like nobody, even all the fillers are like, I don't know what's going on, so that was my nightmare, and I'm happy to talk about it another time when there's more
All
time.
right. Well, thank you so much. Unfortunately, we run out of time. Thank you again, Sheri, to be here and be our guest and share your story. And we'll see you all next week. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.